Acrid smoke filled the bridge, stinging Sergeant Tara Bryce's eyes as she struggled to her feet. Alarms blared, the bridge illuminated by flickering displays. What the hell happened? She cried, staggering towards the command console. Her heart raced as she took in devastation. The sleek exterior of the ancient starship, once gleaming, now scorched and pitted with weapon impacts. Slipstream drive failure, the pilot choked out, blood trickling down her face. We're dead in the void, ma'am. No engines, no power. Tara gripped the edge of the console, mind racing. They were hundreds of light years from the nearest friendly port, cut off from any hope of rescue. A sitting target in the endless darkness of space. Sensors are down, can't raise command, the comm officer reported, voice trembling. We're on our own. Tara's jaw tightened. This crew had been lost in the void for decades, humanity's forgotten warship adrift among the stars. Now, after so long, they had finally made contact, only to be ambushed and crippled. She turned to the bridge crew, their faces etched with fear and resignation. Weapons status. Main guns are offline, shields at 20% and falling, the tactical officer replied. We've got limited point defense, but... He trailed off, the unspoken words hanging in the air. Tara nodded grimly. Without engines or long-range weapons, they were helpless. Vulnerable. A glimmer of movement on the display caught her eye. An ominous blip rapidly closing their position. We've got company, she growled. Prep for boarders. The crew rushed to battle stations, the bridge filled with the clatter of weapons being readied. Tara gripped the edge of the console, jaw set in determination. After decades adrift, they had finally made contact with the outside world. But now, it seemed, their long journey was about to come to a violent end. This is it, people, she said, voice low and urgent. Give them hell. The sleek alien vessel loomed on the view screen, its angular hull painted in menacing shades of black and crimson. Tara watched in tense silence as it maneuvered to a position above the crippled human ship, its powerful weaponry trained on their weakened defenses. They're hailing us, the comm officer reported, fingers flying across the console. Audio only. Tara nodded. Put it through. A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge. Greetings, humans. I am Exurin, commander of the Craxus Expeditionary Fleet. You have trespassed into our territory. Surrender immediately, or be destroyed. Tara's jaw tightened. This is Sergeant Tara Bryce of the U.S. Valiant. We are a lost colony ship, cut off from our home for decades. We mean you no harm. I ask for safe passage to the nearest human settlement. A brief pause. You are a curiosity, human. A relic from a bygone era. Haziran's voice dripped with disdain. Your kind has been forgotten by the galaxy. Your pitiful vessel poses no threat to the Craxus Empire. You will be taken as prisoners, your technology harvested for our use. Tara felt a surge of outrage. The hell we will. We'll die fighting before we let you take us. Another pause. So be it. Haziran's tone was cold and unyielding. You have chosen your fate. Prepare to be boarded. The comm line went silent, and Tara turned to her crew, eyes burning with determination. You heard the man. Get ready. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as the crew rushed to their stations, weapons at the ready. Tara gripped the edge of the console, heart pounding. After decades lost in the void, they had finally made contact with the outside world. But it seemed humanity's long-lost children were no longer welcome. This was their moment of reckoning. The Valiant would either rise to the challenge or be consigned to the annals of history, another forgotten relic of a bygone age. Tara clenched her jaw, resolving to write a new chapter in the story of humanity's defiance. The alien vessel's massive boarding craft descended towards the battered hull of the U.S. Valiant, its powerful engines thundering like the approach of an inevitable doom. Tara watched with bated breath, her knuckles white as she gripped the edge of the command console. Brace for impact, she barked as the boarding craft slammed into the Valiant's airlock. The entire ship shuddered with the force of the collision, and Tara stumbled, grabbing onto the console to steady herself. Alarms blared as the airlock seal was breached, and Tara could hear the hiss of atmosphere escaping into the void. "Get that seal secured," she shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of alarms. The tactical officer's fingers danced across his console, brow furrowed in concentration. "Stabilizing the breach, ma'am. But we've got multiple hostile contacts breaching the airlock." Tara's jaw tightened. "All hands, prepare for close quarters combat. I want those bastards stopped before they reach the bridge." The crew rushed to their battle stations, weapons at the ready. Tara could see the fear in their eyes, but also a steely determination. They knew the stakes. Surrender was not an option. The first Craxus warriors burst through the airlock, their gleaming black armor and razor-sharp blades a stark contrast to the battered, battle-worn humans. Tara watched as her crew opened fire, the bridge erupting in a deafening cacophony of gunfire and the agonized screams of the invaders. But for every Craxus warrior that fell, 2 more took their place, their numbers seemingly endless. Tara gritted her teeth, her heart pounding. They couldn't hold out forever. The Valiant's defenses were crumbling, and the crew were beginning to falter. She turned to the tactical officer, a glimmer of desperation in her eyes. "Can we rig the airlock to blow?" The officer's eyes widened, but he nodded. "Yes, ma'am, but it'll take time. And we'll only get 1 shot." Tara's lips thinned into a grim line. "Do it. We need to buy some time." As the officer worked to rig the explosive charge, Tara turned her attention back to the battle, her expression hardening. They were outmatched, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. But they were also the last, best hope for humanity's lost children. And she would be damned if she let them down without a fight. The bridge rocked with the impact of the Craxus boarders, the sound of weapons fire, and the cries of the wounded echoing through the confined space. Tara gritted her teeth, her eyes narrowed in determination as she watched her crew fight with a ferocity born of desperation. "Hold the line," she shouted, her voice barely audible over the cacophony. "Don't let them through." The tactical officer's fingers flew across his console, his face etched with concentration. "Airlock charges rigged and armed, ma'am." "On your order." Tara nodded, her gaze fixed on the advancing Craxus warriors. "Wait for my signal." The Craxus were relentless, their sheer numbers and superior technology slowly overwhelming the Valiant's defenses. One by one, the crew members fell, their bodies sprawled across the bridge, their weapons still clutched in their hands. Tara felt a surge of rage and grief, her knuckles white as she gripped the edge of the console. These were her people, her family, and she would be damned if she let them be slaughtered without a fight. "Now," she barked, her voice cutting through the chaos. The tactical officer's fingers danced across his console, and a deafening explosion rocked the bridge. The airlock was blown, the Craxus warriors caught in the sudden decompression. Their screams rang out as they were sucked into the void, their bodies tumbling lifelessly through the empty space. Tara watched, her chest heaving, as the remaining Craxus retreated, their retreat covered by a barrage of covering fire from their comrades. She turned to the tactical officer, her eyes wild. "Seal the breach. Get those boarders off my ship." The officer nodded, his fingers flying across the console. The hiss of atmosphere being restored filled the bridge, and Tara felt a surge of relief. They had bought themselves some time, but she knew it was only a temporary reprieve. She turned to the crew, her expression grim. "All right, people, listen up. We may be outgunned and outmatched, but we're not going down without a fight. We are the last remnants of humanity's lost children, and we will not be forgotten. We will stand and fight, and we will show these Craxus bastards the true meaning of human defiance." The crew roared their assent, their faces etched with determination. Tara felt a surge of pride, her heart swelling with the knowledge that these were her people, her family, and she would fight to the very last to ensure their survival. The bridge was a scene of carnage, the bodies of fallen crew members littering the floor amidst the twisted wreckage of the Craxus boarding party. Tara surveyed the damage, her expression grim, as the tactical officer approached her, his face etched with concern. "Ma'am, we've got more inbound," he reported, his voice tense. "The Craxes are regrouping and preparing to hit us again." Tara's jaw tightened. "How long do we have?" 10 minutes, maybe less," the officer replied. "Our defenses are in bad shape, and we can't take another assault like that." Tara nodded. The bridge was tense with anticipation as the crew rushed to overload the war core. Tara gripped the edge of the console, her knuckles white, as she watched the tactical officer work. "How much time do we have?" she asked, her voice terse. 5 minutes, max," the officer replied, his fingers flying across the console. "The core is primed and ready, but I can't guarantee we'll be able to get clear in time." Tara's jaw tightened. "Do it. Trigger the overload and get everyone to the escape pods." The officer hesitated, his expression torn. "What about you, ma'am?" Tara met his gaze, her eyes filled with a fierce determination. "I'll stay behind and make sure this thing blows. Now go, get the crew to safety." The officer opened his mouth to protest, but Tara cut him off with a wave of her hand. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Get everyone out of here now." The officer nodded, his face etched with a mix of fear and respect. He turned to the rest of the bridge crew, his voice urgent. "You heard the sergeant. Everyone to the escape pods, double time." The crew sprang into action, their faces grim as they rushed to follow the officer's orders. Tara watched them go, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she might not see them again. As the last of the crew filed out, Tara turned her attention back to the war core, her fingers dancing across the console. She could feel the power building, the core growing hotter and hotter as it neared critical mass. "Come on, you bastards," she muttered under her breath, her eyes narrowed. "Let's see what you're made of." The Craxus vessel loomed on the view screen, its weapons primed and ready to unleash a deadly barrage. But as the first shots lanced towards the Valiant, Tara's finger found the trigger. "For humanity," she whispered, and with a final, defiant gesture, she pressed the button. The warp core erupted in a blinding flash of light, the shockwave rippling outwards with devastating force. Tara braced herself, her eyes squeezed shut, as the Valiant was consumed by the blast. In the void of space, the ancient warship burned, its sacrifice a final, defiant act of human courage in the face of overwhelming odds. And as the shockwave ripped through the Craxus vessel, the invaders learned a hard lesson, that the human spirit could not be so easily broken. In the aftermath of the Valiant's destruction, the Craxus vessel drifted, its hull battered and scorched by the devastating explosion. Pizarin, the Craxus commander, stared out at the swirling debris field, his expression one of grudging respect. "Remarkable," he murmured, his deep voice tinged with awe. "These humans, these forgotten children of Earth, fought with a ferocity I have not seen in centuries." He turned to his second-in-command, his eyes narrowed. "Scan the wreckage. See if there are any survivors, any remnants of their technology we can salvage." The officer nodded, his fingers flying across the console. "Initial scans show no life signs, sir. But the warp core overload has disrupted our systems. We may need time to fully assess the damage." Xurin's jaw tightened. "Unacceptable. We cannot allow this act of defiance to go unanswered. Dispatch search teams, gather what you can, and prepare to return to the Empire. This discovery must be reported." As the Craxus vessel began its salvage operations, a lone escape pod drifted in the void, its occupant clinging to life. Tara Bryce, the last survivor of the Valiant, gazed out at the distant stars, her eyes filled with a mix of grief and determination. "This isn't over," she whispered, her voice raw with emotion. I won't let your sacrifice be in vain, Valiant. I'll find a way to warn the others, to rally humanity against this Craxus threat. She closed her eyes, her mind racing as she thought of the countless human colonies scattered across the galaxy, cut off from one another for decades. The Valiant's rediscovery had been a chance to reunite them, to rekindle the spirit of humanity. But now, with the ship and her crew gone, that hope seemed to have vanished. Terra clenched her fist, her jaw set in defiance. I won't let you down, she vowed, her voice low and intense. I'll find a way to bring humanity back together, to prove that we are not forgotten. And when the time comes, we'll be ready to face the Craxus threat, united and unafraid. As the escape pod drifted through the endless void, Terra's determination only grew stronger. The Valiant may have fallen, but the legacy of humanity's lost children would live on. And she would be the one to ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain. In the years that followed, Terra Bryce's story spread across the galaxy, a whispered legend that gave hope to the scattered remnants of humanity. As she drifted in her battered escape pod, her message found its way to the hidden colonies, rallying the lost children of Earth. One by one, the human outposts emerged from the shadows, drawn together by a shared history and a burning desire for justice. They pooled their resources, their technology, and their manpower, forging a new alliance that would soon shake the foundations of the Craxus Empire. Meanwhile, Exeron and his Craxus forces continued their search, scouring the wreckage of the Valiant for any valuable technology or clues about the humans' origins. But try as they might, they could not uncover the truth about the fate of the lost colony ship. Until, one fateful day, a Craxus scout ship stumbled upon a hidden human settlement, its defenses far more formidable than anticipated. The battle that followed was a brutal, bloody affair, but the Craxus soon found themselves outmatched and outmaneuvered. As the Craxus vessel limped away, damaged and defeated, the human defenders stood tall, their eyes filled with a fierce determination. They had been galvanized by Terra's message, their resolve steeled by the sacrifices of the Valiant's crew. And in the years that followed, the Craxus Empire would learn to fear the name of the UNS Valiant, a symbol of humanity's indomitable spirit and its refusal to be forgotten. Terra's crusade had ignited a flame that would soon spread across the galaxy, as the lost children of Earth rose up to reclaim their rightful place among the stars. The Craxus, once so confident in their dominance, now found themselves facing a formidable foe. A reunited humanity, driven by the echoes of defiance that had once echoed through the halls of the Valiant. And as the war raged on, the Craxus would come to understand that they had awoken a sleeping giant, one that would not rest until the very last of humanity's lost children had been found and brought home.